At this point, what is Sherry doing?
Sherry's dead.
She's dead.
Hidden within the silent shelves of a quaint bookstore, a chilling mystery unfolded, catapulting a seemingly peaceful haven into the spotlight of one of Utah's most baffling cold cases. This is not just a tale of tragedy, but a journey through an unexpected twist of fate that shook a community to its core. Today, we delve into the enigmatic story of Sherry Black, a passionate bibliophile whose life was cut short in her sanctuary among the books. Join us as we uncover the truth behind her untimely demise and the decades-long quest for justice that followed. In the heart of South Salt Lake, amidst rows of unassuming shopfronts, stood a small, charming bookstore, a treasure trove of rare and antique books curated by none other than Sherry Black herself. Sherry, a spirited and vivacious woman, shared her lifelong passion for books with her community and especially with her husband, Earl Black. Together, they nurtured not just their marriage of over 40 years, but also their business ventures, with the bookstore being Sherry's personal dream realized. This bookstore was far more than a place of business. It was a reflection of Sherry's soul. Every shelf and corner was meticulously organized, holding stories of the past that Sherry had rescued and preserved. It was here among these storied pages that she found peace and purpose, often seen recommending her favorite finds to the eclectic mix of customers who wandered in. Earl and Sherry's relationship was a testament to their shared dreams and aspirations. While Earl managed a successful billiards business, it was their joint effort in the bookstore that brought them closer, weaving their personal and professional lives into a tapestry rich with history and affection. The bookstore not only served as a cultural landmark, but also as a gathering place for those who shared Sherry's enthusiasm for the literary world. Here, conversations weren't just about books, they were about life, love, and the bonds formed over shared stories. It was in this beloved space that Sherry's legacy would be challenged by an unforeseen tragedy, marking the beginning of a mystery that would captivate and confound for years to come. On a cold November morning, the tranquility of Sherry Black's bookstore was shattered by a grim discovery. Earl Black, Sherry's husband, along with Michael, a longtime employee, returned from a work trip to find Sherry's car parked in its usual spot, yet the bookstore eerily silent. Concerned, Earl unlocked the door to a scene that would haunt him forever. As they stepped inside, the familiar cozy chaos of books was untouched, but a palpable sense of dread hung in the air. Earl called out for Sherry, his voice growing more desperate with each echo unanswered. Following the unsettling silence, they ventured further, eventually finding Sherry lying motionless on the floor of a small, secluded room at the back of the shop. The distressing sight of Sherry, lifeless amidst her beloved books, was overwhelming. Michael, shaken, immediately dialed 911, his voice trembling as he relayed their location and the harrowing scene to the dispatcher. Police arrived swiftly, their presence filling the quiet street. The first officers on the scene were met with a grisly tableau. Sherry was found with severe injuries, and evidence of a violent struggle was apparent. Bloodstains marred the otherwise immaculate setting. A large pair of scissors lay nearby, caked with dried blood, suggesting the ferocity of the attack. As they secured the perimeter, preserving crucial evidence, the air was thick with urgency and sorrow. The emotional impact on the responding officers was profound. Trained to handle the darkest aspects of human nature, they found themselves deeply affected by the brutality inflicted in such a personal sanctuary. As the investigation commenced, the bookstore, a beacon of knowledge and community, transformed into a somber crime scene. The community and Sherry's family grappled with the stark juxtaposition of her gentle spirit and the violence she endured, setting the stage search for a relentless pursuit of justice that would span years. As the crime scene tape fluttered in the breeze, detectives swarmed Sherry Black's bookstore, turning every page and peering behind every shelf in search of clues. The scene was a jigsaw puzzle of chaos and calmed the main area of the bookstore untouched, preserving the still air of literary contemplation, while the back room told a story of horror and violence. The initial clues were sparse yet jarring. The bloody scissors found near Sherry's body became a focal point of the investigation, their ordinary presence in the bookstore turned sinister, now a likely weapon in the brutal attack. Forensic teams dusted for fingerprints meticulously, uncovering partial prints on the store's doorknob and on several books near the body, silent witnesses to the turmoil that unfolded. However, the investigation was fraught with confusion from the outset. The fingerprints collected were incomplete and matched none in the national databases, leaving detectives grappling with a faceless suspect. Adding to the complexity, the store's lack of surveillance cameras meant there were no digital eyes to recount the events, and the few witnesses who had visited the store on the day of the murder could only provide fragmented accounts, none of which saw anyone entering or leaving around the time suspected. The murder scene itself posed its own set of challenges. Sherry's position and the distribution of blood spatters suggested a struggle, but the lack of disarray in the rest of the store indicated that the attack might have been startlingly brief and confined to the back room. Detectives theorized multiple scenarios. Was the assailant someone she knew, allowing them close without suspicion, or was it a random act of violence by a passerby turned violent? As the local police worked tirelessly, sifting through forensic data and witness statements, the initial leads began to dry up. Each piece of evidence seemed only to deepen the mystery, with the motivations behind the crime obscured and the identity of the perpetrator still shrouded in shadow. The community's anxiety mounted as days turned into weeks with no substantial progress, and Sherry's family awaited answers with bated breath, hoping for a breakthrough that seemed increasingly elusive. As weeks turned into months, the investigation into Sherry Black's murder became mired in uncertainty and frustration. The detectives faced a barrage of dead ends. Every new lead seemed promising, yet each fizzled out under scrutiny, leaving investigators back at square one. The community's initial surge of tips and sightings generated an overwhelming amount of data, but none that could be concretely linked to a suspect. The forensic team had painstakingly analyzed the bloody scissors and other objects for DNA, but the results were inconclusive. Multiple DNA profiles were extracted, yet none matched known offenders or any entries in national databases. The ambiguity of the evidence compounded the detectives' frustration, casting a shadow over their efforts to deliver justice for Sherry. Amidst growing public pressure and media attention, the case's momentum had nearly ground to a halt. The exhaustive examination of every piece of physical evidence seemed only to deepen the mystery, with no definitive links to a credible suspect. Detectives pored over hours of interviews and reams of forensic reports, searching for the missing link that would break the case wide open. Then, 6 months after Sherry's murder, a crucial tip came in. A local pawn shop owner contacted police after recalling a suspicious individual who had attempted to sell a collection of rare books, some of which closely resembled descriptions of items missing from Sherry's inventory. Energized by this new lead, detectives raced to track down the man seen at the pawn shop. However, the potential breakthrough soon turned into another frustrating dead end. Surveillance footage from the shop was too grainy to conclusively identify the individual, and the books he had were not sufficiently unique to prove they came from Sherry's store. The man, once located, had a verifiable alibi for the time of Sherry's murder. Once again, the trail went cold, leaving investigators and the community disheartened but not defeated. Determined to keep the case active, detectives continued to revisit the collected evidence, hoping for advancements in forensic technology or a fresh set of eyes to see what they might have missed. Their perseverance was a testament to their dedication, knowing that somewhere within the amassed data lay the key to unlocking the truth behind the tragic mystery of Sherry Black's death. Years passed with Sherry Black's case hanging in an agonizing limbo, with leads that had long since dwindled to a frustrating standstill. However, the persistent demand for resolution and advances in forensic science eventually breathed new life into the seemingly stagnant investigation. The breakthrough came when detectives decided to apply an innovative approach to the DNA evidence collected at the crime scene: genetic genealogy. This technique, which had gained prominence in solving several high-profile cold cases across the country, allowed investigators to create a family tree of the unknown suspect by matching the DNA to public genealogy databases. Through meticulous cross-referencing, detectives identified distant relatives of the suspect, gradually narrowing down the genetic markers to a single individual, Adam Dururo. With the suspect finally in sight, law enforcement wasted no time. They initiated discreet surveillance on Dururo, observing his movements and patterns without alerting him to their presence. The surveillance paid off when detectives collected a discarded item with Dururo's DNA, a crucial piece of evidence that matched the genetic material found at the crime scene, solidifying his connection to the murder. The arrest of Adam Dururo was executed with precision. Early one morning, as Dururo left his home, law enforcement officials closed in. The moment was charged with tension, culminating years of dogged investigation and advanced scientific analysis. Dururo was taken into custody without incident, and the news of his arrest brought a somber sense of relief to the community and especially to Sherry's grieving family. As Dururo was processed and charged, the evidence against him was irrefutable. The DNA, combined with the corroborative timeline and circumstantial evidence collected over the years, painted a clear picture of his involvement in the crime. This pivotal moment marked a significant victory for forensic science and genealogical research, showcasing their combined power in bringing long-sought justice to cases that once seemed beyond resolution. After his arrest, the weight of the evidence against Adam Dururo became overwhelming, leading to an intense interrogation where Dururo faced the reality of his dire situation. With DNA conclusively linking him to the crime scene, Dururo's initial resistance crumbled under the irrefutable proof presented by the prosecution. In a stark interrogation room, surrounded by the cold facts of his actions, Dururo ultimately confessed to the murder of Sherry Black, detailing the events of that fateful day with somber clarity. Dururo's confession was a chilling recount of impulse driven by deep-seated issues, shedding light on his psychological state and the circumstances that led to the tragic incident. His words not only confessed his guilt, but also expressed profound remorse for the irreversible pain he had caused. The emotional turmoil of his confession was palpable as Dururo struggled with the gravity of his actions, which had shattered a family and haunted a community for years. The legal proceedings took a turn following the confession. Faced with the option of going to trial with the potential death penalty looming, Dururo opted to plead guilty, sparing both himself and Sherry Black's family the prolonged agony of a trial. This decision was influenced heavily by his emotional confession and the desire to accept responsibility for his actions, seeking some form of redemption by acknowledging his guilt openly. The impact of Dururo's confession on the legal proceedings was profound. It allowed for a quicker resolution to a case that had lingered in the public conscience, providing some closure to the Black family and the community. Moreover, the decision to avoid the death penalty was a contentious one, balancing the scales of justice with the principles of mercy and rehabilitation. The court, considering Dururo's cooperation and the circumstances leading to his guilty plea, sentenced him to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, thus concluding a case that highlighted the complexities of human behavior and the justice system's capacity for both retribution and clemency. This chapter of the story brought a mixed sense of closure to those affected. While the confession and subsequent guilty plea did not undo the pain and loss experienced by Sherry's loved ones, it did bring an essential element of justice and accountability to a case marked by years of uncertainty and sorrow. The resolution of Sherry Black's case resonated deeply within her family and rippled through the community, leaving a lasting emotional impact. The confession and conviction of Adam Dururo brought a complex mixture of relief and ongoing sorrow to those who knew and loved Sherry. Her family, while grappling with the permanent absence of a beloved figure, found some solace in the clarity and justice that the trial's outcome provided. The community too reflected on the vulnerabilities and the importance of vigilance and support in preventing such tragedies. In the wake of this painful episode, the Black family established the Sherry Black Foundation. This initiative was born out of a desire to transform their loss into a catalyst for positive change, focusing on enhancing the capabilities of law enforcement agencies in handling cold cases. The foundation aims to provide resources, training, and support to solve cold cases, ensuring that other families might not have to endure prolonged periods of uncertainty about their loved ones' fates. The foundation also emphasizes the importance of innovative forensic technologies and methods, like those that were crucial in solving Sherry's case, advocating for their broader adoption across law enforcement agencies. By doing so, it honors Sherry's memory by contributing to a legacy of improved justice and community safety. As we close the chapter on the heart-wrenching story of Sherry Black, we reflect on the profound journey from tragedy to resolution. This case underscores the enduring pain of loss, the relentless pursuit of justice, and the resilience of a family turned advocates in the face of their grief. The arrest and conviction of Adam Dururo mark a significant moment in criminal justice, highlighting the vital role of DNA technology and genetic genealogy in solving cold cases. Yet, the story doesn't end here. There are countless unresolved cases waiting for a breakthrough, waiting for justice. We encourage you, our viewers, to support organizations like the Sherry Black Foundation and others dedicated to aiding cold case investigations. Your support can bring hope to families still searching for answers. In remembering Sherry, let us recommit to the cause of justice, not only to honor her memory, but to affirm our collective responsibility to safeguard our communities and seek resolution for the forgotten victims. Thank you for joining us in this important reflection. Together, we can help illuminate the shadows left by unresolved cases and bring solace to those who continue to wait.